My story begins with John. My friend John had a girlfriend named Zelda. Zelda, that is not her real name, had the pursuit of calling up spirits from the dead. She would call up spirits from the dead on Sunday nights when the rest of us were watching cowboy programs. She was doing this on Sunday night with her friends, and then she decided that they would expand this to Sunday and Wednesday night. So it was Sunday and Wednesday night, and before long it was Sunday and Wednesday night and Friday night. And it didn't take too awfully long, and they were doing this every night of the week for hours on end.
So where would they do this?
They would be at his house in the living room, as I recall it.
In John's living room.
Yeah, in John's living room, right. Mm-hmm. Anyway, she saw she was losing control over the situation, so she decided to quit cold turkey.
1 second. So she was losing control of the situation. What did that mean? What was happening?
She had to have it. She had to have it. Like it's a psychological aberration of some kind or other, an addiction, if you would.
So she was addicted to calling up the spirits of the dead.
She not quite addicted. She was not going to submit to it. She had a pretty strong will, but she was doing it every night, and she felt that she had lost control. So that's the way it went. She decided to quit cold turkey, and she did, except for one thing. The spirits were coming after her. She would hear voices inside of her head saying, "Zelda, we want to talk to you. We haven't heard from you for a long time. And she would have to find out an excuse. She would go out. At one point, she was working wherever she was working, and she went out in the alley outside the place of business and screamed, "No, no, no!"
Because they were the spirits would not leave her alone, and they were talking to her when she was working. Is that right?
Right, that is correct.
She was working at a hardware store, as I recall, right?
Yes, that's correct. And she was out in the alley, and she was screaming, and the boss came out and said, "Zelda, what's the matter?" She said, "Oh, I guess I had a bad dream." She had to make up an excuse every time. And when she resisted, she would see a white German shepherd looking at her with the very intelligent eyes. And she turned around to her boss and said, Did you see the dog?" He said, "No, I didn't see any dog. There was no dog." Well, this happened on and off for months afterwards, and she just for a while she didn't hear any spirits, any voices of spirits, and it was months before she heard from the spirits again. She was going to sleep one night, and she was somewhere between awake and asleep, and she started hearing the voices.
Can I stop you for just 1 second? So where did she see this German Shepherd? Did she see it always in the same place, or did she see it in various parts of the city?
It'd be wherever she was, that's where the German Shepherd was.
So there was no way to explain that it was a coincidence, once or two times, or maybe three times that the German Shepherd was with her. It was always in a new place. Is that right?
That's the way I understood it, the way John told me. So anyway, she was falling asleep, and she started hearing the voices. And she started hearing the voices, and she started screaming and yelling, "No, no, no, I don't want this." And her brother came running down the hall, and as he entered the door, the curtain stood out on end in a wind. And he said, "Where'd you get all the wind from? There's no wind at where I am." And she said, I just guess I had a bad dream." And she looked out the back window into the backyard, and there was a white German shepherd staring up at her. And she said to her brother, "Come over here and take a look. See what you see." He looked in the backyard, and she said, "Do you see a white German shepherd?" And he said, "I don't see anything except the backyard." And that, I suppose, was the end of it, except for one thing. I came home on one of my nights out. I guess I got home about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
So you were in downtown Cincinnati?
No, I don't know where I was, but I was coming home to North College Hill, where I lived at that point.
North College Hill is a part of Cincinnati. It's a neighborhood.
And I got out of my car, and everybody closed the car door the same way. But I did an about face, so I was facing the street. I locked the car door, and there is a man walking a white German shepherd up the street at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I said hello to the man. He acknowledged my presence, and they kept on walking up to the end of the street where I could no longer see them.
What did this man look like? Do you remember?
He was an old guy. I don't remember too much detail about him. He's just been over 50 years, but I do remember that he was an older fellow, and he smiled and acknowledged my presence, and I said hi to him, and they kept going. And my friend John came into town couple of weeks later, and I said, "Hey, I saw your white German Shepherd." He said, "You did?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I was getting out of my car one night. It was late at night or early in the morning, according to your point of view." And I said, "I saw a guy walking in white German." He said, "Stop." And he finished the story. He said, "Zelda was being run all over everywhere in a dream one night. You don't dream the same thing all night. You go from dream to dream to dream. She was being run all over the place in this dream. And at one point, she was going by a guy who was getting out of a small car, a VW Bug, and he was dressed nicely. He was under the street lamp. That's how she could see all this. And she could see that he could see the dog and the man, but not her. And he stood there stunned and watched him walk up the block. And that was the end of it. And from that point forward, I told John, I don't want you ever to get me involved in this again. The end.